We think about ourselves as the growth ecosystem. So we do three things. We help companies grow via our network. So that's Safary Club, this exclusive community, our education, which is the Safari certification, a 4-week marketing course, and finally through our technology, which is the Safari's customer data platform.
Impossible. You never know till you try.
Hey, GM, Justin. Thanks for accepting the invite. Usually I do like an introduction, but I felt like you don't need any introduction, and I wanted to skip the introduction and get into the get into the deep dive with you. How are you, Justin?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm great. Just wrapping up the day with this interview with you. We have a lot of cool topics. We have some questions from the community. It's gonna be fun.
Perfect. Looking forward to it.
Usually, I like to say there are two kinds of people in crypto. People that were born before crypto, usually let's say millennials, boomers over 40 years old, and people that are born into crypto. And I want to know, Justin, who were you before Web3 and what made you go into crypto?
Yeah, so for me, I was a marketer before Web3. Maybe that's not a surprise to people. I grew up in Silicon Valley, and I spent 4 years doing marketing at two different tech marketplaces. For the first one, the strategies I was deploying were primarily around community-led growth, and at the second one, I was doing programmatic advertising and incentive experiments. So in many ways, I had an oddly crypto-native marketing background before crypto, with half in community and half in financial incentives.
Yeah,
And then, yeah.
because usually Web2 products don't really focus their attention on community, right?
Yeah, very not often at all. I was focused on building a developer community on Discord back in 2018, and so I was managing around 10,000 developers, which was pretty interesting and exciting. But most companies did not go that community route at that time, but really became the secret sauce of our business. And so I saw firsthand at Web2 just how powerful building a community can be around a product.
And fast forward, how did you decide to enter into the crypto rabbit hole?
It all stemmed from a conversation that I had with another growth marketer and growth leader from Web2. Throughout my career, the way that I had learned is I'd reach out to growth leaders that were around 5 years older than me. So like at that sort of next juncture in their careers. And one of those people was the VP of marketing at a different marketplace company called Thumbtack. And I was having a conversation with her, and she was like, yeah, this was basically like summer 2021. She was like, yeah, I'm thinking about this like Web3 thing as maybe my next move. And I was like, isn't Web3 like so far off? Like it's not going to happen, anytime soon. And she was like, Justin, I think it's going to happen sooner than you think. And then like fast forward like 4 months from that conversation, like I entered the crypto space as a founder with my co-founder, and she became the VP of marketing at OpenSea. So it's like funny that like we had that conversation, and sometimes when you have a conversation about a new topic with somebody that you respect, like it starts the wheels turning in your mind to explore something further. And so that was definitely the case for me. But I think that also Web3 was on everyone's minds in the fall of 2021. So by the time fast forward a few months from that conversation, it was just everywhere, and was really able to penetrate into the mainstream technology conversations. And so of course, I wanted to be a part of that and learn about it. But the initial way that we got into it was DAOs. Community back to community and the power of community. It's something that I had experienced before. That was what really drew me to the space, and DAOs were very much all the rage in November 2021 when we first started exploring.
So basically, you started exploring with DAOs, and in between exploring with DAOs and actually building Safari, were you doing anything else from a professional point of view?
So no, by the time I got into crypto, I had already left my job to become a full-time founder with my co-founder. We started building a DAO tool in November 2021 when that was like basically all the rage. That DAO tooling bubble came crashing down very shortly after that. But the way that things got started was that we like built this DAO tool, and then it was my job to take the DAO tool to market. And we went around to all these different DAOs. We're like, who wants to use this tool? And everyone was like, oh, who else is using it? And we were like, nobody, you're going to be the first. And they were like, goodbye, right? And so as a result of that, like, being the clever growth leader that I like to think that I am, I was like, well, we can create our own community, and then we can use our tool within our community to like dog food the product. And then if it works well, as we learn new things, we can take it to other communities. And so what ended up happening was what led to the creation of Safary Club. We were like, well, if we're going to create our own community, what should the community be about? And I was like, well, I'm a marketer. I want to basically create a community for me of other marketers in the space to learn from each other and see how that goes. And that's what ended up being the launch of Safary. So Safary launched in February 1, 2022 as the first marketing community. And as soon as we launched and started using our tool in our community, we were basically like, the tool fucking sucks. Like this, I don't think DAOs in the way that people are thinking about them are going to be a thing. And so like, if that's the case, then like we should ditch the tool and go all in on the community, which was very crypto, philosophy at the time, and see where that takes us. And that's what we did. So we spent the first year and a half of our journey bootstrapping, going all in on Safari's community. And then it was only later that we built a platform, built education to a wider audience.
Yeah, it's interesting because you basically started Safari in the beginning of bear market.
Yeah, exactly. And that was, in many ways, that was kind of what a lot of growth leaders needed at that point in time too, because a lot of growth leaders knew that the music was going to stop on the like crazy growth strategies they've been deploying in, the fall of 2021. But actually, like, in hindsight, we can say that February 2022 was the beginning of the bear market, but it didn't seem like it at that moment exactly.
People
like
didn't
it
want
still
to believe
seems like
that.
it,
Sorry.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It was not yet, didn't really feel like the beginning of the bear. I think people thought it was going to have another, pull up, but then obviously like Terra Luna in March and so on and so forth that like plunged us into the real bear market.
Back to reality.
Exactly.
Justin, for those hearing about Safari for the first time, how did you explain what it is and what problem does it solve?
We're basically we think about ourselves as the growth ecosystem. So we do three things. We help companies grow via our network. So that's Safary Club, this exclusive community. Our education, which is the Safari certification, a 4-week marketing course, and finally through our technology, which is the Safari's customer data platform, which helps companies understand a 360-degree view of their users, what they're doing on their dApps, who they are, what they're doing on chain, and what they like, and how to find them and engage them. So that's a little bit about us, knowledge network platform.
Yeah, that's great, Justin. And really did a lot in these years. I mean, Safari right now is kind of the biggest Web3 marketing community right now.
Yeah, definitely. Have been, always have been for the last 3.5 years and continue to be, but we intentionally actually keep it quite small. These cohorts are, on the education side, 300-ish, and on the club side, 340-ish. So, we keep our circles tight.
Why do you feel it's more important to keep the circle tight? Is it because people don't really have interest? Is it better to be, rather than a big loud community, to be a community where people actually bring value and contribute rather than, I have this community of 100,000 followers?
Yeah, it was a very intentional choice. I think that a lot of marketing and growth I like to say, as a reaction to whatever is happening in that specific moment. So when Safari Club was founded as a community, the 100,000 person discords were all the rage, right? That was the dominant way that people do communities. Was the communities are going to be open, they're going to be 100,000 people, they're going to be text-based, like we're creating new societies in Discord. And as a, in many ways, due to the constraints that I had as a bootstrap founder, like I couldn't found that type of community, right? Not only like for like just like from a bandwidth point of view, like I wasn't going to be able to hire 15 moderators from around the world to monitor each of the different languages and time zones. Like that was never going to happen. So I had to found a community that only I was needed to run. And it turned out that actually ended up being a much longer lasting community than these very large unwieldy communities. So Safari from the beginning and still now is a closed community, application only. It's an audio-based community, not a text-based community, which basically means people gather around weekly calls on Tuesdays. And the distinction there, which is interesting, is that we set the expectation up front. This is not a 24/7 community. This is a come for an hour a week and have that be like the highest leverage hour for your week. So it's designed not to be like your everything, right? And then there are other ways that people find to engage with each other, but like that's the core. And I think that over time I've learned like reasons why that's so successful as a model. And the big one for being application based is that you can really select and determine who you think is going to get value from your community. So like for us, you can imagine like we're a growth community. A lot of different personas are interested in joining a growth community, whether that's investors and VCs, founders, and then obviously growth leaders themselves. But if you think about each of these personas, like VCs, very interested, but have nothing to contribute, right? They're not doing growth. They're not doing growth, and thus they only hear about growth through like founders that they talk to. So like they're the furthest away. Founders also very interested, but maybe too busy. Some of them will never be doing growth if they already have a marketer. Growth leaders living this day in, day out, and so therefore have both the most interest and the most incentive to contribute, and also I can give things. And so when you are able to limit who joins, you also limit the people who won't get value from your community, or won't give and won't get value. And if you can limit the number of people that fall into that group, then you actually are able to maintain a really strong fabric between people within the community. So that's why for us, obviously at this point, we try and only accept growth leaders because those people are the most likely to get value and to give value to the community.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what you need. It's an exchange of value and how we can grow, especially because Web3 marketing and growth is not, you don't have a benchmark. You don't have, everything is new. We have new tools, we have on-chain data, some things that never existed before. So everything is new. You don't have, I'm gonna read this book, Web3 marketing. That's what you don't have that. So, but that's the beauty.
Yeah, definitely.
Before we dive in a little bit more about the Safari products, I have two questions from Rob from Hype Thailand. Where do you feel the drive came from, and what keeps the energy there and kills the burnout of building Safari Club?
I think for me, it's really about meeting so many amazing marketers in the space. Personally, I love marketing, and that's what drew me into crypto. That's what kept me into crypto, is this amazing group. I think a lot of people get burnt out because they have to deal with a lot of unsavory figures as they go along through crypto. But what I've experienced is marketers are pretty, they're like evangelists, they're optimists, they're not doing scammy stuff for the most part. And so I've been fortunate to not run into as many bad actors as other people do along the way by solely being in the marketing camp. And I think that is what avoids it for me. That being said, it is a burnout, I think, is always a thing. And I would be lying to you if I didn't say that I'm probably perpetually burnt out. But that's just the life of being a founder. I was probably burnt out before I even started, as, Safari Club's founder. And now, 3.5 years later, probably even deeper in the hole. But I think that, as a founder, I think that that's just a given. But I think that what keeps it going is, keeping things fresh, changing things up. I think that, the interesting, challenging thing for us is like Safari Club, the community, and this is why a lot of DAOs failed, didn't have a business model, right? There was Safari Club is free. That was never going to work long term. We maintained it, for 3.5 years. But we found, VC funding for our platform. We found ways to maintain it. And then the Safari certification now has a price in which we basically can break even on. But I think that, a big challenge for a lot of builders in the space is they put their all into something that ultimately will not make them enough revenue to be sustainable. And that's where a lot of crippling burnout happens. And it makes sense why that they, assign a price to something that the ecosystem legitimately needs and wants, but is not fully ready to pay for. And I think that that's a challenge a lot of crypto builders find themselves in.
Yeah, but it's in the long term is for the better. I mean, things need to change a lot, and they are starting to change, which is good.
Yeah, I agree.
What are some of the biggest hurdles you have overcome building Safari, and do you still get them on a daily, weekly basis?
I think that one of the biggest hurdles that we have today is in some ways a branding and positioning problem, which is that we became so popular for Safari Club, the community, that's what people think about us as, and they don't see us for our platform and technology and our education programs. We're starting to change that slowly. Now, a lot of people see us for our education programs now that we've done a second cohort, but still not as much for our technology. And that's sort of a pain point. That's a strong hurdle that I need to solve because if we're only known for our education in our community, we're not going to make it as a company. Those things don't sustain us. Those are our break even. We do it for the love of crypto and the love of the community, but as a business, no business could survive just doing those things in crypto. So we need to be known for our tech.
Especially because it's priced very accessible, especially for the other part $300. So
Yeah.
you run an American business, right? What's $300, But you attract people to this kind of offer because people all over the world. Maybe for some $300 is not stupid.
Yeah, a lot of people are this is inaccessible pricing, and I'm it really can't be any lower. Our Web2 counterparts are called Reforge. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but most Web2 marketers did this course called Reforge. I did it when I was first starting out as well, but it's $2,000 a course. So, at a 5-6x price increase, and they give a lot less than we do for ours. But it is a challenge, crypto's global, Web2, Reforge was, I'd say probably more targeting American market. And so 2000 was totally doable for a lot of people to upskill in Web2 marketing.
I mean, if you go to college, what's $2,000, if you want to pay for a premium education?
Exactly. So most college students paying $300K.
Yeah, exactly. You get nothing, You get maybe a good network, but everything you can learn very fast nowadays on the internet. If you just know how to get around it, because there is a lot of information. Who are the top growth operators right now teaching the course, and what's their main contribution to the students?
Yeah, so I would say, we are very, very fortunate to have a lot of amazing growth leaders teaching the course. So we have like the marketing lead at Berachain, we have the VP of growth at Kraken, we have the former CMO of Eigenlayer, we have the CMO of Nilion, the head of marketing at Arbitrum, and so many more amazing growth leaders. It's interesting, every cohort, people like different people, which is pretty interesting. In the first cohort, a lot of people were really attracted to Jose Molina, who's the former CMO of Eigenlayer. He talks a lot about sort of like operational excellence in crypto marketing and managing up basically within our organization. This time around, it's been interesting. A lot more people have liked Matthew Howells-Barbie, the VP of growth at Kraken. He talks a lot about data-driven marketing in crypto, which is not a topic that a lot of people know much about. But Kraken has a very, very strong data foundation, probably one of the strongest that I've seen in the space. And so that's been interesting. I think it kind of, as we know, crypto marketing and crypto moves so quickly that, like a few months ago, the revenue meta was not a thing, so people didn't really care about data. But now, as the revenue meta becomes more of a thing, data is obviously the backbone to making money for so many companies. So I think that makes sense why that lesson in particular is hitting a lot harder today than it did even just 2 months ago.
Yeah, I always thought that the companies the foundations, protocols, projects, if you want to name it, they don't do this revenue buyback to just give back to the stakeholders only because the token is going to be considered a security token. So I thought like maybe it's just a compliance issue. So
I mean, I think that just a lot of protocols in general haven't. It's kind of like what we were saying before, this change that's happening and changing with communities and changing with others is a lot of, companies don't have a real business model, right? They're like, we're just giving it all back to the community. Please come use our tech, do things with us, hang out with us. We pay for all the drinks, like everything's free in crypto kind of thing. But ultimately, I think that held the space back in so many ways because now, a lot of challenges result from the quote, everything is free mentality. Users have higher expectations. Companies, don't sell to each other. It's really just like a free fest. But I think that is very quickly changing in the space because the truth is, money is not free. And, these companies can't live forever if VCs don't continue to pump money into the space like they did in 2021. And so it's time for people to build real companies.
yeah, I feel like one of the worst metas, especially in the last years, was the whole airdrop because you basically are a protocol, let's say Berachain, right? Because you mentioned it early, and if you don't give like a good airdrop, they're gonna fund you constantly. They're gonna fund you the hell out of you, and because they are mercenary communities, they're just gonna disappear after that, and you are left with nothing after paying. Just free dummies. Yeah.
Yeah.
But beyond education, I want to talk a little bit and touch point about the Safary platform. One of my favorite, uh, let's say, feature of the platform that I researched a little bit was basically you can sync the Twitter with the wallet data, basically turning social insights into on-chain engagement. Tell me a little bit overview and what's the value here for Web3 if you want to access this kind of platform.
Yeah, sort of at the core of our platform is the belief that there are on-chain signals and there are off-chain social signals. Alone, each of those things can get botted very easily, and we've seen that be the case across most protocols. But when the two are stitched together, that's when, sort of the real insights and the real value gets created. So, for example, like Kaito has been all the rage for the last 6 months, 9 months, I guess, at this point in time. It shows the social side. A lot of people can talk about a project, but what you don't see is okay, cool, people are talking about that project, but do they own the tokens of that project? Have they interacted with the protocol of that project? You don't really know, right? Like you know the off-chain, but you don't know the on-chain. And when you're a company, knowing that crossover is particularly important. To be intellectually honest about like, are the people talking about us and following us on Twitter also the people who are using us or not, right? And vice versa. Do the people who use us talk about us? Do they engage with us on our socials? And how many of the people that are our users actually following us on Twitter? I think that that's the other part that a lot of people are looking for is, you know, when we built this new function of our product that you're mentioning here of being able to understand who are the people that follow us and what do their wallets look like and are those wallets engaging with us? That really came from a core question that I asked about 50 different heads of marketing during our discovery process of, I asked them, who's in your Twitter audience today? You know, Twitter's the number one channel. Who's in your audience? Is it your VCs? Is it your users? Is it, you know, like what's the breakdown? Not a single person could tell me, right? And it just became so obvious in my mind that like, why is it that Twitter is the number one channel for everyone that people obsess over, but people don't actually know if they're attracting the right people on Twitter or not? They have no idea. They have no idea. Not a single company has any idea if they're attracting the people that ultimately matter to their business on Twitter. They know whether impressions and engagement goes up or down, but they don't know whether it's going up or down with the people that matter, whether that's bots or whether that's actual protocol users. And so seeing this stitching between wallets and socials starts to reveal a lot of these things. The other thing that's very unique about our platform is that we have our technology sits on the front end of their website. And as a result of that, we're able to see when a user connects multiple wallets, we can stitch all of those wallets together. So if you're a farmer, for example, that's programmatically spinning up 10,000 wallets and then automatically doing actions, we see all of that instantaneously, right? So like versus somebody who's like doing on-chain sleuthing to try and like figure out like which wallets are connected, like that's a whole, you know, like process, but like Safari's tech picks that up immediately. So we have distinct certainty on Sybil that is very hard to detect in an on-chain only capability, but also even for normal sort of like routine behaviors. Like you go to Uniswap, you connect one wallet, then you like toggle to another wallet, and then you actually swap with a third wallet. Safari's tech would pick up that you connected these three wallets to uniswap.com, and now we know that these three wallets are all yours. Versus those three wallets.
Yeah, but how do you connect? How do you connect the wallets to the profile?
Because so we connect. That's how we connect wallets to each other. First off.
Yeah, exactly.
But then there's lots of ways to connect one of those wallets to a profile. So I'm bringing this up to say that the more wallets that we stitch together on a certain user, the higher the likelihood that one of those wallets is connected in some kind of way to a social profile. So a few different ways this has been done. Farcaster, a lot of users verified other wallets. That verification that they did not happen on chain. It happened through their API. Same thing with Lens. So like if you ever connected and even if you unverified, that link was already made. OpenSea, ENS domains, there's a lot of different like on-chain verified ways that wallets got verified to a social handle, to a string of letters in some kind of way. And so if one of those matches was made to a wallet that then is part of a group of wallets that we connect together in another sphere on the website, then we know that there's a link. So that's basically the core of what's happening at our tech is like, so it's basically first party data on the website. The more wallets that connected, the higher the chance that one of those wallets is connected to this larger social graph on chain.
Yeah, because in my head I was limited to the fact if maybe, let's say Uniswap, because on Uniswap you only collect the wallet, you don't collect the social profile. So in my head I was stuck, but when you say it actually makes sense, because if you are a Web3 user, at some point in time, even if you are careful, is a big probability that you're gonna connect your profile somewhere else. And you just doxed yourself. your docs or profile, let's say.
Yeah. And so that's the interesting like user behavior that we see as well, right? It's like people, when they go to a website, the Pendle, Uniswap, whatever, they'll connect like a low, a wallet that doesn't have a ton of money in it. And then if all goes well, they don't get drained, then they'll connect their high value wallet. But what we often see is that low value wallet actually is the wallet that tends to tell all the secrets about that profile, right? The high value wallet, they've been very careful. They've never, swapped something from like one of their other wallets that had their identity to that wallet. They don't like deposit from the wrong place. Like that wallet is pure. But if they connect that wallet and an identity wallet in the same website, like it's over for them.
Yeah,
but they don't think that problem exists, right? Because they only think about how can I get doxed in an on-chain way, not in an off-chain way.
Mm-hmm. But basically, let's say if they have like the big wallet, I'd say the more protected wallet, but theoretically, if they send the funds through checks and then checks to the main wallet, you don't have any kind of connection between them, right? Or do you have?
No. It's about whether they connect. Yeah, it's about whether they connect to a website with the same wallet.
Okay, but if they do like a breach, let's say for example through Relay Link, through Solana,
You mean where they connect one wallet and then paste the address of another wallet?
Yeah, exactly.
It all depends on how that company sets up Safari. So they can set it up as just a wallet connection, but they can also catch the, anytime you input any text on a website, that can be captured. So if they, know that they have this cross-chain function, and some of our customers do, our cross-chain dexes, cross-chain bridges, then that too gets captured.
But if you use like, I don't know, Tornado Cash isn't around, but there are other kind of mixers nowadays. Can you detect something like this with Safari? Can you make some kind of connections?
I don't know that we've served that use case before. Usually companies that are like have a privacy specific, like some people have like a privacy specific domain and then like a public domain. So they're like more like high value users use the privacy specific one. They don't use tracking on that one, for example. So it hasn't been something that they've been like, we want to be private, but then also we want to track. And can you do this? So hasn't been a question that's come across my desk yet.
Yeah, I was just curious because the on-chain world is like, it's infinite,
Yeah, totally.
But what kind of clients do you have right now?
Mostly DeFi. DEXs, lending protocols, anything under the sun, DeFi. We have some social/gaming clients as well, but predominantly we serve DeFi platforms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes
mostly
sense.
Also, if you can imagine, it's also because DeFi protocols have been the only companies that have been really alive and well for the last 2 years and can afford Safari's platform. So a lot of the other verticals haven't really survived over the last 2 years. So that's why we serve DeFi primarily. But our platform can serve any company that has a Connect Wallet button.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and at the end of the day, because we are in the stablecoin season right now, DeFi is gonna be on top of the world, right?
Yep, absolutely.
This is the direction. You've seen the rise of a lot of Web3 creators. What's one underrated strategy for standing out there in the content game, especially for people starting from zero?
I think that a lot of people don't realize that a lot of the content game is also still about who you know, like not necessarily about the content itself. I got started when I didn't know anybody in crypto as a content creator. It took me about 6 months to go from 0 to 1,000 followers, and this was, I didn't I started as an anonymous identity, so I like literally was starting from zero. I didn't have any of my like real world friends following me on Twitter. It was just a completely fresh account. Um, at that time, and this was before I basically got my start by summarizing long form articles from like Medium and Paragraph and Mirror about crypto on Twitter in short form thread content. And that was really, I think, a good strategy for a couple reasons. Like one, it was basically like an output for my own learning. I was reading these articles anyway, and then like it, helped me digest the material and share with others. It was not easy to do as well because this was before like ChatGPT. And
But
when you
you learn better
that's what I'm
when you
saying.
do it manually. It's not like AI.
Yeah. And but the third piece was that it sort of had a natural network effect for growth in it. Is I'd be like, I'm summarizing an article by this person, tag them, of this company. Here's the thing, right? And if it was good and high quality, they would retweet it, right? And a lot of the people who would retweet this stuff were, in the 5 to 25K, I would say, like follower range. So that helped me like start to develop a presence very quickly. I think it's still possible to do, that strategy today, and I've started seeing a couple others do that strategy as well in the recent months. But I think that, when I look at content on my feed, you sometimes feel like you're like supporting people by liking their content. Like you'll be like, yeah, like I'm not going to finish reading this post, but like I like this person, so I'm like liking it and I'm moving on. And I think that people don't often see that side of the like content game as well, is that if you meet people socially or get to know them in their DMs, then they have higher likelihood to like and engage with your content than if you never did that. So I think there is a relationship element to content creation that goes underappreciated, that people might just like your content even if they don't like the content itself, just because they like you personally. So I think that starting from scratch, you like one need to find your niche and what like the content style is that you want to go for, and that's like table stakes. But there is this other element of like people liking your content because they want to support you on your journey to go become better. Because there are other people who I don't like at all, right? And even when they write good content, I don't like their content, right? I'm like, I'm not going to support you because you're not a good person. But this was good content.
What do you feel about the ZackXBT's list of 200 plus crypto influencers?
I mean, I feel like we've seen this story before many a time of like there are KOLs who are max extracting in the space. But I think that the sad thing for me is I think that who this really ultimately hurts is the smaller creators that, like could benefit a lot from getting paid something for their content. And it makes it so that, they feel like they can't, charge anything for content. When they see these people like dunking on people max extracting, it's pretty crazy. I mean, like we saw like 60K from like the top creator like per like 2 posts, like absolutely nuts. If people are paying that, great, that's awesome for you. I think that outside of being like a legitimately celebrity, like that's hard to justify, but if people are paying it, then people are paying it. They're either not intelligent or, they really think you're worth it. And that's fine, right? But I think that like who this really hurts is like the people who want to charge like $300 for like 2 posts. Those people feel like they can't, charge money anymore because they don't want to be seen as extracting from their audience. And I think that sucks because, I think that there are a lot of great content creators out there. I never got paid for creating content. But if I wasn't a product founder, then I would need some way to make money in crypto, and that could be it. But I think it's not a viable path for legitimate content creators who are creating good content, doing it authentically, taking the time to do these things, and that's just really sad, in my opinion, that it's become not a viable path by these like max extractors.
Yeah, hopefully some things are gonna change. But people tend to have a very short memory on CT. They forget the second day they got drugged by the same person.
Yeah, exactly.
We touched a little bit on this subject, but I want to turn a bit. You mentioned Kaito, and I want to know your opinion. Do you think InfoFi is just the beginning, or do you think it's just a trend that's gonna die? And what do you feel it comes next in the evolution of creative web protocols?
Yeah. So I think that when I look at marketing metas, I see Kaito as the latest marketing meta, but I do think that this flavor of it will die. Kaito could, I'm not saying that Kaito is going to die, but I think that the meta of mind share only for mind share's sake is going to die. I think what's changing is this revenue meta, as we're saying. Like, a lot of people are frustrated by these companies that raise 100 million and then TGE and then are making like $20 a day 2 months after their TGE, and then their CEO leaves like 3 months later. Like, people are like, I mean, it's happened too many times, like, with this exact story. Like, people are sick of that. People want to see companies that are like building real businesses in a way that is sustainable. Even if there's volatility, like, you need to have a business model. And like, people, I just think don't respect companies for only having mindshare. And if that's the case, then, and it's going to be a combination of like, yeah, people know about your project, but you also are like legitimately doing something that's building a real business, that will probably be the next meta, right? So like, this revenue meta, I think, will, spur a marketing meta with it, which is, in each of the marketing metas, we've seen one thing be important, right? So like, airdrop meta, it was like, you've interacted with my protocol on chain, we give you money, right? Quest meta was like, you follow us and you retweet stuff, we give you money, right?
That's the worst. That was the worst.
Yeah, that was the worst one. Then points was like a light combination, right? Like, you follow us, you do stuff from the quest meta, but you also do a couple things on chain, but they're like simple things on chain, right? It's like, we give you money. And then Kaito is like, if you're not just like a bot, you're like a high quality creator, then we give you money. So I think that like, what's natural is we have like you're a higher quality creator and you give you money part. We take that from Kaito and we match that with something higher quality on chain than what happened before. So like, a better version of points. Like, points took the like bad stuff from the quest, but then added on chain element. I think whatever's next takes the Kaito and then adds something higher quality on chain. And I think that that's where companies like Safary are very well positioned, because we've been seeing this interplay over time with these companies' users, and it's very hard to fake, right? It's very clear, if you've been using Safari's platform for a long time and had it plugged in, who are your real core users and who are here for the ride. But I think that a lot of the challenge that a lot of people had in the past is that they didn't really start thinking about their tracking and data journey until they were 3 weeks out from their TGE, right? And so like, we had this, like, there were, I'm not going to name names, but like, large L1 protocol approaches us like 2 weeks, 3 weeks before their TG, saying like, how can we like do like airdrop detection, like Sybil, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, it's too late for you guys. Like, you can't, right? At this point in time, like, you could do like a lightweight retroactive analysis. That's not what we do, but like, you're not going to get a great picture from just doing that. You'll get like the worst actors, but like, you're not really going to understand like who's quality within your community. Like, you have to do that from long before you start your points programs and all these things, and be evaluating that, over time. And the truth of the matter is, like, companies are not structuring their TGs and analyzing for airdrops, not many of them at least, on a very long-term time horizon. And that ultimately, I think, is what matters, right? To your point of like, who actually gets the airdrop. The people who are dedicated are not the ones that are getting rewarded because people are doing these calculations haphazard 3 weeks before their TG.
Yeah, yeah, but the ugly truth it is that the products that they make are destined to be doomed because nobody want to use them. They are just
I agree.
farming it for the incentives. So either way, you're gonna be fucked if you're building just a fork. I mean, everybody is building the layer ones right now, and
Yeah.
even though we've seen most of them fail, they just spun up another copy and they do the same. They stamp exactly the same thing. Why?
Yeah. That's been the playbook, but I think that things are changing because that playbook is breaking as well, right? Like you, for the last few years, you could just spin up an L1, raise a bunch of money, do this. Then that fell out of favor. Now you spin up an L2 and then that fell out of favor. There are too many L2s. Then you
And
advance the
now,
L1s.
and now you do a
Yeah.
stablecoin chain.
Yeah, now you do a stablecoin chain. But in the end, we know, like, this whole thing of like you built an ecosystem and then attract the dApps, like that doesn't work. Like the dApps don't come, or they come, but then they can't raise money, so then they don't survive. So your chain might survive, but if the people who are supposed to bring you users don't survive, you have a big problem.
Yeah, yeah. But talking about things that I like right now, we've seen on City, on Timeline, a lot of new hires from people that are actually very involved in City. So basically, internal KOL like employees. We've seen like John Wang being hired as head of crypto at Kalshi, Vogue transitioned from Magic Eden to Avax, Abbas Khan, he just announced today that yesterday that he got a new role at the Ethereum Foundation, and a bunch of them. How important is to have like a dope ass personal brand and actually build on public and build your reputation?
I think it's becoming increasingly important. I'm not surprised at all to see this trend, and it matches my internal thesis as well. I think that we're moving, like if we like scroll out and think about marketing in general, I think we're moving from a world of brand-led marketing to people-led marketing. A lot of if we think about brand-led marketing, there's like people are mostly like don't engage with like corporate communications that are coming out from like brand accounts. They don't really like that type of content. Some people do it well at certain like flash moments in time, but for most people it's like boring to follow like Adidas or Nike or whatever. Like it's more interesting to follow the people associated with those accounts. I don't really see that trend changing. I think that the other piece of the puzzle here, like if we think about Web2 marketing, is that the ways to direct, like basically the Web2 game was like direct as much traffic to your website as possible and like convert it down the funnel, right? The ways to direct traffic to your website are mostly dying, right? And so like if we think about this as like the rising privacy regulations like GDPR from 2018, like that kills ad targeting, that makes ads more expensive than ever. We have AI search killing SEO and SEM. We have, UGC is getting taken over by AI slop. So they're just like all these trends that are making it harder than ever to do marketing like direct to your website in the way that we had done it before. So like my personal hypothesis is that instead of like brand directed website driven marketing, we're going to see more like people as their own content funnels for a company. And that's why I think team-led marketing is becoming much more important, and why people are hiring internal KOLs as well. And yeah, personally, I don't see this changing because the alternatives of the more scalable channels are dying themselves. So like what exactly is the alternative to that? And this has emerged as the alternative. And we're just in a very different culture, I would say, too, than 10 years ago. There's talk about like right now we're in the like dopamine culture where people want like fast hits of like different things. And consumer culture is very much like that. And so I think that, yeah, for so many reasons, it makes sense why things are headed this way. They're headed this way in crypto. but they're also headed this way in Web 2 as well, for all the reasons that I mentioned. You're seeing a lot more founders building in public, and a lot more like founders leading the brands. Like nobody's going to the Cluely account, but like they're following the CEO Cluely on Twitter.
Yeah,
you know,
and especially everybody. I mean, the employees, the interns, everybody is very vocal and builds a part. That's what I love. Right? And you see at some companies that the employees are actually more vocal than the founders, like Avail, for example, or Naruto and Yoda. They have like strong personal brands and they have strong opinions.
Yeah, no, so I totally see that as being the case. I think it's here to stay. The question is like whether people will continue to have, whether they'll just hire those KOLs to do some of the like more degen-y sort of like marketing, or whether they'll actually let those people take over their like brand accounts as well, and whether they'd be good at that. I don't know. I think that like crypto's in a little bit of a struggle right now, is that, the space is going more and more institutional, or that's where the opportunities are, but we're still kind of like in this bubble over here. And I think that a lot of companies are going to get passed over as a result. Like people are looking at, like Stripe with their new like L1 with Paradigm, and they're like, wait, like, what's up with that? Like, what about us? But the truth is like, they just got like out distributioned, right? Because they never focused on anything besides CT. So I think that like, yes, I think that this trend generally of hiring influencers is one that's here to stay, but crypto specific influencers, I don't know, right? If those people can't speak to institutions and the crypto curious and can only speak to CT, then I think that their days are limited. But as a broader trend of having influencers within a company, I think that part's here to stay.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, they need to adapt with Web3, because Web3 is growing. They need to grow also. So, okay, Web3 is not only about creator coins, football not fun, headless chicken, meta institutions are coming. Okay, so I need to see exactly what's with these institutions. I mean, I think I have to educate myself a little bit more about TradFi. So enough with the degen. People need to constantly evolve at the end of the day if they want to stay in the game.
I think that's exactly right. And I think that like we've gone so niche, but a lot of the crypto creators that have like very large audiences do speak to more of a crypto curious audience. And I think that that's very interesting as well. Like you can't, in my opinion, you probably can't surpass more than 200,000 followers in crypto with only the CT audience. If you have more than that, and if it's real, then you've gone more institutional, gone more crypto curious, and that's a natural evolution. But those people talk about very different things than the sort of like degen crypto culture.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I love degen culture. I really, really love it. But man, nobody understands shit if you're not in this village.
Yeah.
What are you talking about,
Yeah.
And I've seen recently very interesting initiative by Rope from Hype Talent. So basically, he built a community for people that wanna get jobs in crypto, and he made like a 30-day challenge, encouraging people to write daily about projects and put themselves out there. Basically attracting potential people that can hire them, rather than going and knocking on doors.
I think that's a great initiative, especially because I was looking at a AI recruiting platform, looking at their deck, and they basically said that like between like 2022, like when chat came out, to like now, like all the job applications are getting like around four times as many job applications as they were before. And so that makes it like on average, which is crazy, right? It makes sense, right? Like the big barrier to, getting your job out there before was like writing cover letters, right? Of like, it was actually really time consuming to do that. But now AI can just like adapt your CV to a random company in like 2 seconds. So it makes sense that like people are just applying to more jobs than ever, but that on the recruiting side, like on the in-house side, like it makes it impossible to like sift through all these applications. And you don't know like what was AI generated, how much do they really care? And so this is a way to show companies that they like do really care. about what they're doing. And so I think that also goes back to like a personal brand aspect. Is if you see people that actually have like a following or that are starting to build a following talking about your company, you're definitely going to notice, and that'll help you stand out from the pack rather than looking at 1,000
AI
CVs for
generated CVs,
yeah.
never-ending story. Yeah, you mentioned this before. Basically, projects need to break outside of the city, Discord, Telegram bubble, and maybe start targeting Web2 audiences. Yeah, so you go to TikTok, you go to Instagram, you go to YouTube, you go to Reddit, you go, I don't know, this black hole, 4chan, you go everywhere. How important is to actually, how important is the distribution for projects to actually build their users?
I think it's massively important. I think if we look at the crypto space, like the only people who are going after the crypto curious are centralized exchanges. And that creates this system that we see of like, if you're a project in crypto, the only way that you see to get distribution is to play the crypto exchange listing game, right? Is you like modify your entire growth strategy to like, how can we get listed on Binance because those are the only people that like have users. That's like, in my opinion, just like a losing battle. When like what these people should be doing is instead of like trying to play this game and then giving them like 200K for a listing and X% of their token supply, they should just be
And the
building
checks
that
to dump your tokens.
yeah, and the chance to dump your tokens. They should be building that, audience from the ground up, grassroots style, bringing in crypto curious to people, onboarding them into their protocols. It feels like a more difficult lift because you're actually bringing people in, but those people have much higher retention, right? Like Binance users are going to like buy your token and then dump it the next day. And so like, yeah, you're going to get this like big pump. You're going to feel like you're like awesome for like 48 hours while you TGE, but then like it's all over for you, right? Because that was like, there are distribution channels like this in Web2 too, right? That are like, you get the spike and that was great. And then like you move on, but you can't have your whole growth strategy be around like a 48-hour spike. Like you dedicate like 6 months to, we're going to get this 48-hour spike. If you have 6 months, you may as well try and build like grassroots from the ground up, targeting people that nobody else is targeting. Otherwise, the story is always going to be the same. And I think that that's another big part of the problem that we face here is that like everyone's basically relying on the centralized exchanges to bring them users rather than actually trying to build distribution channels to bring themselves users.
Yeah, makes total sense. I mean, basically they want to go the easy way. I'm just gonna pay you 200K and you're gonna be the users. But right now on Binance, if you look, there are so many tokens that if you are new to crypto, you're just gonna look at some tickers. And when are you gonna start doing all the analysis? I'm gonna go to CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap to read about the token, what's this? I mean, too many steps.
Yep, totally.
Yeah. I have another question from Sam from the community. How do you see marketing evolving for the next year? Does mass adoption necessarily mean not using technical terms, or does City overestimate it?
I mean, I think that the unfortunate truth is I think a lot of these Web 2.5 plays are going to completely like outmarket crypto native companies. As we go more institutional, as people accept stable coins as like a given thing, I think a lot of Web2 fintechs are going to completely destroy the stable coin opportunity because they, unlike the crypto natives, right, have a multitude of distribution channels that they've been building out over years to lots of different consumers that can access those channels, versus crypto natives who are relying on Binance to do their acquisition for them. That's not going to work out well for them. So I think that if you're in the space today, you need to quickly pivot to building out your own distribution channels rather than relying on other partners to do so for you. Otherwise, you're not going to make it. And those opportunities will be eaten up by Web2 players that do have growth machines. I think the other big piece is data. Data is absolutely needed. A lot of companies have no data infrastructure at all. They don't understand their users. They're bringing in the wrong types of users. They're not interviewing users. So I think fundamentally, I think that like this revenue meta will start tilting the ship in the right direction, because if you care about making money, then fundamentally the thing that matters is understanding your customers that are paying you that money. When you have no customer, or that customer is like misunderstood, like if you're like an L1, like who exactly is your customer? You have like VCs, you have like basically like everyone is your potential customer, but nobody's giving you money. It becomes like an issue. But when you do have a customer and that customer is clear, understanding them is the most important thing. So I think that is where this space will really shift, is that those that understand their customers over the next like year are going to like rise, and those that either have an uncertain customer or don't understand them are going to fall. And they're going to fall not just because their crypto competition is winning. They're going to fall because these Web 2.5 players that are coming into crypto for like stable coins from the fintech lens are going to absolutely destroy them, because they understand their customers much better than crypto companies do.
Yeah, the future doesn't sound so good.
The future is clear. The best products don't win, the best distribution wins. And right now, Web 2 companies, especially Web 2 fintechs, have way better distribution capabilities than crypto companies do, which is sad to see that like companies that are established themselves in crypto are going to lose the crypto opportunity to companies that are new to crypto, but because they didn't build distribution channels for themselves.
Justin, I know it's late. Do we have 10 more minutes?
Yeah.
Can you stay? Yeah. I think I'm hearing myself because you don't have the headsets.
Yeah, my headphones died, unfortunately.
Okay. So, in the content game, how do you strike the balance between giving enough value to be seen as credible and well groomed in the niche without giving away so much that your insights lose their perceived worth?
What do you mean by giving away value? You mean in terms of if you want to be a content creator that makes money from your content?
Yeah, I think so. It's another question from the community. I don't really understand this.
Well, we'll answer that one of like, I think that ultimately it kind of goes back to what we talked about before. You want to create good content. And I think in the beginning days, you have to just give all your best ideas away. It's only when you establish yourself that you can start to monetize on those ideas. But it also depends on like, meeting people and having them want to support you too, right? Like, like Substack has like you can pledge X dollars of money a month to me for nothing sometimes, or it's like you just want to support me, or for like one article a month, or whatever you want to do. I think that's definitely like an option for, it's kind of like tips, like $10 a month or something. But that can definitely scale if you have the right audience, right? I think if you're going to a small audience in CT, then it's probably not going to scale. But like if you talk about larger trends, I think it definitely could scale. I think that all depends on like what you decide to be your niche topic. I think starting like really small and focused is good as you like develop that audience, but soon you'll saturate that topic and you'll have to go on to larger topics, or more diversified other smaller niches as well. So I do think it makes sense to start small, but yeah, monetizing content is really, really hard. I think that there is a point in which people do feel like you're extracting, even if you're a top creator. And I think that's an unfortunate balance that you need to, portray. Because like, if you'd be like, let's just take an example of somebody who's legit, like Brian Armstrong of Coinbase. Like, how much would somebody pay him to post something about their company? 100K? Like, if he was like, I would charge
the minimum,
right? Minimum. It sounds pretty crazy to say like, I'm going to charge you 100,000 for a post, but I think it could be justified, right? For somebody of that caliber. Obviously, like a KOL that you've never heard of before, charging that is like insane, but I think there are legitimately creators that have a very strong brand and audience that it could make sense to pay an absurd and ungodly figure to. You're probably not going to get like the ROI on that directly. Like you're almost certainly not going to, but you know, you can use that in other ways. Be like, wow, look, Brian Armstrong tweeted about us. Like, we're so legit. Tell all your investors that. Maybe it helps you raise money, right? Like, so I think there are other ways to figure out what the ROI is on these types of things. But yeah, I think when you're a small creator, it's very tough.
Yeah, but we see this in the real world as well. Look at the Kardashians.
Yeah. Once you get to a level, people will be willing to pay you the money. I think smaller, it's tough.
Let's say you're working with a validator that source some BD media, like us, like BlockHunters. If you had to design a brand awareness strategy for them, how would you approach it? Very high level.
So tell me a little bit more about your model so that I understand.
So basically, a validator works like this. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I just muted myself.
Yeah, that's best. Okay, so a validator works like this. Basically, you as a model, you are chasing L1s to validate on them. So you do this in the very early stages, maybe pre-testnet ideally. On the testnet phase, you do a bunch of contributions. So you spin out the validator, you have other technical contributions, public goods, layers, RPCs, etc. You have community marketing contributions, podcasts, tutorials, spaces, documentaries, anything like you can do. And then and also financial contributions, like say investments. And after that, you're probably gonna get a genesis spot for a network, on mainnet or not. Between depending on how much contributions you have, you're gonna get foundation delegation. So basically, that's one type of revenue that you get. Of course, that's basically paid in tokens because you get a commission from the stake. The other one is go to the retail, right? But I don't see really retail actually staking tokens nowadays because I don't know why you should do it. The third one is you go after institutions, so centralized exchanges, wallets, you go to family offices, VCs, and basically you go with this chunk of total value staked, you get a commission on X amount of layer ones.
So you're talking about this from what would you do to brand yourself if you're like on the content side of the validation, or what's the question?
Not
Or
really. How,
from the ecosystem
how,
perspective?
how can you bring more people to stake with you at the end of the day, to know more about you?
I would say, truthfully, I don't think I'm the best person to answer this question.
Yeah, I know it's, and also your platform doesn't really work. I mean, if I generate you like, let's say 10,000 addresses that are delegators to me, can you give me some kind of data? Because I don't have like push the button to connect the wallet.
Yeah, we can if there's public in this like social graph element type of way on them, then yeah, we can give you data on them and like what are their social profiles. But a lot of where the magic with our platform happens is when you have the Connect wallet, and so then we can start stitching the different wallets together, and that increases the chances that they get that they're connected in some kind of way to this larger social graph that we have of different connections to social identities. So like basically we have like list of like wall to Twitter on one side, and then like your first party data, and like as more of those wallets get connected, like what is the chances that one of these wallets is on this list that connects to a Twitter or another social media.
Makes total sense. Before we wrap this up, we have a special rapid fire section, but this is just short answers, top of mind answers.
Yeah, sounds good.
Favorite Web3 growth tool besides Safary?
It's interesting. I actually haven't used many, like really used for our own purposes, many Web3 growth tools, even though I'm sure I've been pitched everyone under the sun. So I think the only Web3 growth tool I've used is Kaito for our own purposes. So I'll go with that one.
Favorite paper, book, podcast that changed the way how you think today and how you lead?
I really like Andrew Chen's blog. Andrew Chen is a famous Web2 growth leader for those that don't know. So yeah, I would say him.
One Twitter account every founder should follow?
John Woo.
Bear market or bull market, which one's the fun to build?
Bear all the way for us. I think that Safary is a little interesting as a company because we're, I'd say, like counter thesis in that in the bull market, nobody really thinks about growth because everyone's growing. In the bear market, growth is the number one thing on everyone's minds. So we're much more popular in the bear than we are in the bull.
Advice to growth marketers in 2025?
I think still building a personal brand. I think it also keeps you fresh in your own game for like learning what works and what doesn't work from like a company point of view. So both skills can be applied to the same.
Where can people follow your work and join the next Safari cohort?
You can follow us on Twitter. We are Safary Club, CLUB. Same domain as well, safari.club. And yeah, you can traverse our website to join the next cohort of the certification.
Thank you for this, Jester.
Yeah, thanks. This was awesome.